Chapter 12 of Murder in the Gunroom. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Murder in the Gunroom by H. Beam Piper. Chapter 12. Gresham must have been waiting inside the door. As soon as Rand came up onto the porch, he opened it and motioned the detective inside. Beyond a hasty greeting as Rand passed the threshold, he did not speak until they were seated in the gunroom upstairs. Then he came straight to the point. "Jeff, can you spare the time from this work you're doing at the Flemings to investigate this Rivers business?" he asked. "And how much would an investigation cost me?" "It's got to be a blitz job. I'm not interested in getting anybody convicted in court. I just want the case cleared up in a hurry." "Well..." Rand puffed at the cigar Gresham had given him, watching the ash form on the end. "I don't work by the day, Stephen. I take a lump sum fee, and, of course, it's to my interest to get a case cleared up as soon as I can. But I can't set any time limit on a job like this. This Rivers killing has more angles than nude descending a staircase. I don't know how much work I'll have to do, or even what kind." "Well, it'll have to be fast," Gresham told him urgently. "Look, I didn't kill Arnold Rivers. I hated his guts, and I think whoever did it ought to get a medal and a testimonial dinner. But I did not kill him. You believe me?" "I'm inclined to," Rand replied. "In your law practice, you know what a lying client is letting himself in for. As my client, you wouldn't lie to me. You seem to think you may be suspected of purging Rivers. But why? Is there any reason, aside from that homemade North & Cheney he sold you, why anybody would think you'd killed him?" "Great God, yes!" Gresham exclaimed. "Now look, I'm not worried about being railroaded for this. I didn't do it, and I can beat any case that half-assed ex-ambulance chaser Farnsworth could dream up against me. But I can't afford even to be mentioned in connection with this. You know what that would do to me in town. I just can't get mixed up in this, at all. I want you to see to it that I don't." "That sounds like a large order." The ash was growing on Rand's cigar. He took another heavy drag at it. "But why necessarily you? Rivers had plenty of other enemies." "Yes, but damn it, they weren't all in his shop last evening. Just me, and one other, the one who killed him." "On your way out from town?" Rand inquired. "Yes, I stopped at his place about 8:45. I was sore as hell about the hooking he gave me on that North & Cheney, falsely so-called, and I decided to stop and have it out with him. We had words, most of them unpleasant. I told him, for one thing, that Lane Fleming's death hadn't pulled his bacon off the fire, that I was going to start the same sort of action against him on my own account. But that isn't the point. The point is that when I was going in, this la-di-da clerk of his, Cecil Gillis, was coming out. He got into his car and drove away, leaving me alone with Rivers. He'll be the first one the police talk to, and he'll tell them all about it." "That does put you back of the 8-ball." Rand dropped the ash into a tray and looked at it curiously. It looked like the sort of ash he had seen at Rivers' shop, but he couldn't be sure. "But if it can be proved that Rivers was alive after 9/20, when you got here, you'll be in the clear." "I don't want to have to clear myself," Gresham insisted. "I don't want anything to do with it at all. Here, I'll pay you 1,000 down and 2 more when you have the case completed. I want you to get the murder cleared up before I can be publicly involved in it. I say publicly because this Dan Gillis has probably involved me with the police already." "Well, Gillis isn't exactly in a state of pure sanctity himself," Rand commented. "As a suspect, the smart handicappers are figuring him to run well inside the money. For instance, you know, there have been stories about him and Mrs. Rivers." Gresham snapped his fingers. "Damned if there haven't, now," he said. "You talk to Adam Trehearne. He did business with Rivers. There wasn't much in his line Rivers and Umholtz were able to fake. And different times he's gone to Rivers' shop and there'd be nobody around. And then Gillis would come in from the house smelling of Chanel No. 5. Mrs. Rivers uses Chanel No. 5. Maybe you have something there. If Cecil thought he could marry the business with Rivers out of the way... You'll take the case, won't you, Jeff?" "Oh, certainly," Rand assured him. "Now, all they have on you is that there was ill feeling between you and Rivers about that fake North & Cheney, And that you were in Rivers' shop yesterday evening?" Rand's new client grimaced. "I wish that were all," he said. "The worst part of it is the way Rivers was killed. See, back in Kaiser Willie's War, before I was assigned a company of my own, I was regimental bayonet instruction officer. And after we got to France, I always carried a rifle and bayonet at the front. Hell, I must have killed close to a dozen Krauts, just the way Rivers was killed. And during Schicklgruber's war, I volunteered as bayonet instructor for the local Home Guard." "My God," Rand made a wry face. "There must be close to 100 people around here who'd know that, and all of them are probably convinced that you killed Rivers, and are expressing that opinion at the top of their voices to all comers. You don't want a detective, you want a magician." He took another drag at the cigar and blew smoke through a circular gun rack beside him. "What sort of character is this Farnsworth, anyhow?" he asked. "Before the war, I had all the DAs in the state typed and estimated, but since I got back—" Gresham slandered the county prosecutor's legitimacy. "Goddamn headline-hunting little egotist. He's running for re-election this year, too." "One way, that could be bad. On the other hand, it might be easy to throw a scare into him. Stephen, when you were at Rivers, were you smoking a cigar?" Gresham shook his head. "No, I threw my cigar away when I got out of the car, and I didn't light another one till I got home. If you remember, I was lighting it when I came in here." "Yes, so you were. Well, I don't suppose, in view of the state of relations between you and Rivers, that you had a drink with him, either? Now, I wouldn't drink that guy's liquor if I were dying of snakebite, and he wouldn't offer me a drink if he knew I was," Gresham declared. "Well, did you notice, back near the fireplace, a low table with a fifth of Haig & Haig pinch bottle and a couple of glasses, and a siphon and so on it?" "I saw the table. There was an ashtray on it, and a book. I think it was Gluckman's United States Martial pistols and revolvers. But no bottle, or siphon, or glasses." "All right, then. It was the killer." Rand explained about the drinks and the cigar ashes. He went on to tell about the destruction of Rivers' record cards. "I don't get that." Gresham was puzzled. "Unless it was young Gillis, after all. He could have been knocking down on Rivers, and Rivers caught him at it." "I'd thought of that," Rand admitted, "but I doubt if Rivers would sit down and drink with him while accusing him of theft. And I can't seem to find anything around Rivers' place that looks as though it might have been stolen from the Fleming collection, either. Oh, and that reminds me. If you have time this afternoon, I wonder if you'd come along with me to the Flemings and see just what's missing. I'll have to know that, in any case, and there's a good possibility that the thefts from the collection and the killing of Rivers are related." "Yes, of course," Gresham agreed. "And suppose we take Pierre Jarrett along with us. He knows that collection as well as I do. He'll spot anything I miss. He works at home. I'll call him now. We can pick him up before we go to the Flemings." They went into Gresham's bedroom, where there was a phone, and Gresham talked to Pierre Jarrett. It was arranged that he should pick Jarrett up with his car and come to the Flemings, while Rand went there directly. Then Rand used the phone to call his office in New Belfast. He talked to Dave Ritter, explaining the situation to date. "I'm going to need some help," he continued. "I want you to come here and get a room at the Rosemont Inn under your own name. I'll see you there about 5:30. And bring with you a suit of butler's livery and a reasonable facsimile. I believe there will be a vacancy in the Fleming household tomorrow or the next day, and I want you ready to take over. And bring a small gun with you, something you can wear under said livery. That .357 Colt of yours is a little too conspicuous. You'll find a .380 Beretta in the top right-hand drawer of my office desk, with a box of ammunition and a couple of spare clips." "Right. I'll be at Rosemont Inn at 5:30. Ritter promised. "And say, Tip was in, this morning, with a lot of dope on the Fleming estate. Want me to let you have it now, or shall I give it to you when I see you?" "You have notes? Bring them along. I'll be seeing you in a couple of hours." He parted from Gresham, going out and getting in his car. As Gresham got his own car out of the garage and drove off toward Pierre Jarrett's house, Rand started in the opposite direction, toward Rosemont. About a half-mile from Gresham's, he caught an advancing gleam of white on the highway ahead of him and pulled to the side of the road, waiting until the state police car drew up and stopped. In it were